Good morning to one and all present here. Since we are following all the standing protocols of COVID, participants are requested to wear masks at all times and maintain physical distance. Crowding or selfies are not appreciated. As the world celebrated the International Human Rights Day on 10th of December every year, we, the PG Department of Human Rights and Duties Education, celebrate our department association Jagriti 21-22, commemorating the great day. Jagriti means awakening. We always believe in raising awareness about the inalienable rights that everyone is entitled to as a human being. Welcome to Jagriti 21-22. Let's all raise for Tamil Talvartu.
சீராரும் பரதமென திகழ்பரத கண்டது தெற்கணமும் அது சிறந்த திராவிடர் திருநாடும் தனக்கு சிறர் விரல்களும் தரித்தலும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அழித்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ்பரத்த இனத்திலும் தமிழருகே தமிழருகே உன் சீரிலை திறமையந்து செயல்படுத்து வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே.
I now request our head of the department, Ms. Nitya R., PG Department of Human Rights and Duties Education, to welcome the gathering.
Good morning to one and all present here. Today, we are commemorating the International Human Rights Day. United Nations says equality, reducing inequalities, and advancing human rights is the theme of the year. But why this theme? Rampant poverty, pervasive inequality, and structural discrimination are the greatest challenges on human rights in the present world. On this day, the PG Department of Human Rights and Duties Education, Retd Government, welcomes you to celebrate the human rights by understanding what human rights are, why is it important for everyone to know what is human rights, and to live with dignity and equality, why do we need to have human rights. For this, we have an act, the act person today here, who was known for fighting against human rights violations for almost 50 years, who used his black robe to stand by the backward communities in Tamil Nadu, fought against caste oppression and discrimination. None other than our own Justice CHANDRU, former retired Madras High Court judge. The film Jagriti would have made you all known him now, but Sir is not new to us. Our college and the British Department of Human Rights have had the honor of having him as chief guest many times in the earlier years. Chandru sir got enrolled as an advocate in 1976 and was designated as senior advocate during 1997. Sir had appeared in a number of cases relating to human rights and freedom of the press and was consistently championing the cause of the underprivileged, be it a worker, women, child, Dalit, or political prisoners. Sir was appointed as a judge of the Madras High Court on 31/7/2006 and was retired on 8/3/2013. After retirement, Sir writes regular columns in newspapers and magazines. He has regularly given lectures in various institutions throughout the country, including Jagriti College. He has authored several books in Tamil and English, and many of his articles have been compiled and published as 4 books in English and books in Tamil. And we are so honored, sir. Gifted us all the books when we went and invited him. Thank you so much, sir, for that. Our department, we always say that justice delayed is justice denied. But Chandru sir's justice never got delayed and never got denied. It is so astonishing to know that in just we had a Sudamani sit on women's rights, and Sir was initiating this. Sir was the head of the trust of Sudamani Memorial Trust, and Sir sponsored the event also. Thank you so much, Sir. Citizen Living associated with Sir, and welcome you everyone, Sir. I take immense pleasure in welcoming all the dignitaries on the dais. Our beloved chairperson, Jagriti, who has always been with the department in all the programs to encourage us. Here we have to really mark that the department received Guinness World Record for longest stage play on human rights, which we did on 2019. The stage play was for 28 hours, 32 minutes, and 43 seconds. Which was actually performed on this stage in 2019. And our partners here are the dignitaries who are on the stage, and Mr. Muligan sir is sitting there to form a chairperson of the entire project. So, everybody was very strong in mind, and the whole program did a day with us. So, welcome you again, sir. The department is so honored to have you here today, sir. And our principal in charge, Madam Usharani ma'am, Dr. Usharani ma'am, so she just encourages us whenever we go with any program or any issue. So thank you so much, ma'am. We will move forward in creating human rights awareness within and outside college, always with your support. And I will fail regularly if I don't welcome Ushapriya ma'am, Dr. Ushapriya, the self-governing national speaker. Ma'am is one of our well-wishers. She always supports us, and even during the biggest award venue, and even now, whenever we are there, she be with us, she struggled with us to create awareness on human rights. Thank you so much, ma'am. And I would like to welcome all the staff members and students from various departments, the press, and everybody here who are present here for this program. So I would like to say that the PG Department of Human Rights has always been creating awareness since the inception of the department in 2002. And we don't believe in classroom lectures within the four walls. We take the students outside. Our students create awareness. They don't create awareness in human rights within and outside college. So that is how it is. It's more of interaction and more of exposure is what we give. So with that, every program is targeted towards human rights awareness, and this is one such program. Our department association, Jagriti 2021. I welcome you all to Jagriti 2021.
Thank you, ma'am. I now request Ms. Nitya student 2nd MA Human Rights and Duties Education, to read the report of activities of the PG Department of Human Rights and duties education for the year.
Good morning. I am Retd, presenting the report of activities Jagriti 2021 on behalf of Ms. Meghna Priyadarshini, Association Secretary of PG Department of Human Rights and Buddhist Education. We take pride in stating this is one day full-fledged PG course in Human Rights and Buddhist Education in Tamil Nadu since 2020. Being a pioneer in human rights education, apart from academics endeavors to create awareness about human rights, we have conducted many webinars, certificate courses, internships in governmental and non-governmental civil society organizations. This course also prepares students to take up competitive and civil service exams. These are the list of activities conducted by the department in 2020 to 21. Even through the pandemic, our department kept us busy with many informative webinars and panel discussions through online mode. Since the college is reopened, we are continuing to be enthusiastically conducting and participating in life-changing programs. In place of reward and achievements of the department, we are officially amazing to Guinness World Record for the longest wait in human rights for 28 hours, 34 minutes, 43 seconds, and was achieved by Team Kala Puri in Chennai from 8th to 9th March 2019. The attempt was organized by the Department of Human Rights and Youth Education and Bioscope Entertainment Private Limited. The formal felicitation for the achievers was held on December 6, 2019. Ms. Jagriti, our present second year student, has won second prize in photography competition in Discrimination 20 event organized by the Department of Journalism and Communications of the college. Ms. Meghna Priyadarshini, our present second year student and secretary of Jagriti Association, has won first prize in broadcast event Youth 2021, and she gave a special speech about UNB in an event at State Human Rights Commission to observe United Nations Day. Ms. Sanjana, our present second year student, have won many prizes listed as few. First prize in poster making in Discrimination 20 event organized by each Department of Journalism and Communication of the college. First prize in palm painting competition SDN Vaishnav College for women. First prize in art event broadcast class Youth 2021. Certificate course. Online summer internship comes certificate course on National State Human Rights Institutions, National International Standards and Alliance in Institute of Human Rights Education, INEQUALITIES of People's Watch. Webinar during pandemic. State level webinar on COVID-19, the refugee crisis, on December 10, 2020, organized with Your Active Advocacy Forum. National level webinar on neoliberalism and workers' rights. Special lecture delivered by Mr. Amulya Khan, former president, All India Insurance Employees Association, Secretary of South Asian Chapter of Southern Initiatives on Globalization and Trade Union Rights. Webinar on Women and Health to commemorate the International Women's Day on 8 March 2021. Webinar on Human Rights and Mental Health in an Unequal World to commemorate the World Mental Health Day 2021 on 9th October. National level webinar on Advancement of Human Rights in the Cyberspace on 30th November 2021. Professor Dr. Jagriti Halvi, PhD Law, NLSIU Bangalore, delivered lecture on human rights issue in cyberspace. Professor Dr. Ranjit Oman Abraham, ML, PhD Law, delivered lecture on human rights and jurisprudence relevant to cybersecurity. Advocacy in social media, a YouTube video made by our present second year student, Ms. Indumati, on human rights, meaning, importance, and various rights, which motivated many students to join this department. Field visits. Since it is pandemic and lockdown still continues, It is difficult to go around and visit places as part of field research. We were accepted to visit the State Human Rights Commission to get knowledge on functions of the Commission and their procedure for dealing with complaints on human rights violations. Internship. Even being in pandemic, students were encouraged to actively take up internships in the following organizations: National Human Rights Commission, Institute of Human Rights Education of People's Watch, Other India Trust, Human Active Advocacy Forum, Trust for Youth and Child Leadership. Placements. The students who graduated from the department were placed in reputable organizations as in Cognizant, the International Foundation for Crime Prevention and Victim Care (ECBC), the Chairman 1098, working as counselor and child protection field officer, Center for Women and Development Research as project coordinator, South Indian AIDS Action Program (SIA), Madurai as a project coordinator, Pro-Attach, All Welfare Trust, IIKM, University of Leicester, Chennai. Now, International Volunteering Foundation, Germany, Doctors Without Borders, TBS, SCSR, Dharmashala in Tibet, TBS Software Solutions. Thus, we continue to create difference in realizing and imparting awareness of social responsibilities to activities of the department. I conclude by saying that these activities expose students to multiple career choice in the field of human rights, not only with very liberal class sessions and the right to participate freely to shape our opinions made this department our preferred destination for us to get clarity on current issues and political standing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. I request Dr. K. Usha Ramina, our principal in charge at Raj College, to say a few words felicitating the chief guest.
Good morning to everyone present here. Good morning. With full of joy, I am sitting by the side of the real hero, Justice CHANDRU sir, and also the heroine, Mrs. Jagriti madam, our chairperson. Why am I saying them as hero and heroine? Hero, through the film, yes? But he has been giving judgment for more than 9,000 cases. Just 96,000 cases. My God. Sir, around you. And the two ma'am, the review chairperson of our college, who has been fighting for the right of the children. Mrs. Jagriti madam, Vice President of Indian Council for Child Welfare. Everybody should know this also, because we have come here not to see the hero who has been portrayed in the film. The real heroes and the heroines who have been working to create awareness in the minds of the people. When we are deprived of something, only we will know the pain. We are, I would say, majority of the people who are assembled here are the lucky lot with so much of pride sitting in our college. There are people outside the world, from Etiraj, outside the Etiraj, who have been deprived of their right for education, the right to live. So many activities that have been we are witnessing. If you read the papers, you will know. So I have to thank the Speech Department of Human Rights, who have taken effort to bring our chairperson, Mrs. Jagriti madam here, and also Justice CHANDRU sir. Thank you so much, and we are really proud. The most respected former chairman, Muralidharan sir, is here. He has been a real source of strength to each and every one of our staff members in the college. And here, my congratulations to the PG department. I would like to read out the names of the staff members who have been working on and off. I tell you, they were very scared that the program will go on today because of the news we have been receiving from various sources that we are not supposed to have the conduct of programs. But following the protocol, actually, sir, I have to state here, all the 7,500 students wanted to enter the auditorium to see you, sir. We have restricted the number, so my request to you is you have to attend as many programs as possible in women's college to see the real hero. This film is just a sample of the service rendered by the and such simple human being, and I hope to thank Madam for sending me to this home for inviting you, sir, for the previous program. Thank you, ma'am, for the same. The head of the department, please give them a very big hand. Mr. Media, Dr. Pavitra, Dr. Shobha Sharma, and Mrs. Shirley Grace, and also the entire band of students who have made this possible to create awareness about the rights of us. Thank you very much. And for the longest play, I have to state here, this is the oldest, I will not say the oldest department, this is one of the youngest department in the college, which has created Guinness World Record. There are departments with many years of legacy, but as the youngest department, they have created a niche in the hallmark of Retd College. Congratulations to you for the same, and we are expecting many more laurels to be brought by the department to the college. To all the students, there are many undergraduate students here. This department is open to all. The PG course in human rights is open to all the students, be it humanities or science and arts, commerce students. So there is an avenue for you people to get educated through the PG research, PG Department of Human Rights about the awareness. If you have passion for the welfare of the people, definitely you can join PG Human Rights Department of a college, which is the first of its kind in India, which was started in 2002. And my congratulations to the dedicated band of teachers and also to the students for creating awareness in the minds of not only Retradians but also the outside world. Good day.
Thank you, ma'am. I request Dr. Usha Priya, ma'am, Vice Principal, Self-Supporting, to facilitate the department.
Good morning. It's really a very happy day to see the radiance in this auditorium filled with vibrant air and positivity. Let us thank every one of us for giving us this wonderful day, and where your department is celebrating, motivating, and enjoying this Human Rights Day, which was adopted by United Nations in the year 1948, where it is synonymous with our college. I hope you are all aware of it. Our college was founded in the year 1948. See it's actually a coincidence or it's an incidental thing, I don't understand, but it's a beautiful moment. In the same year where it was declared Universal Development of Human Rights. Yes, by United Nations, the same year our college was founded to elevate the rights of women education by our founder. Let us thank him for that. It's actually a massive milestone. advancement of humanitarianism, universal rights provided to everybody, irrespective of the race, color, religion, sex, and whatnot. So we have to celebrate this, enjoy, and widespread awareness. That's very, very important. We have to create awareness among all the people around us to understand the highest privilege in the world offered to us, the right to live. Please make them understand. Whoever, even the person who is coming to your house, your top servants, the person who is in the cook, your person who is a shopper in your house, anybody, please make them understand. That is very, very important, by which we can contribute to the society by celebrating days of these kinds. We have a lot of enough events, but what is much more important for us, people like us, is to make those people who are not aware of this to understand the concept of human rights, which is very important, which will make the whole world a beautiful place to live in if everybody knows our privileges to live as such. And the person told me to felicitate the department. I do not have words to express my appreciation for the achievements of the department. That's beyond the beyond. That's all I can say. Beyond the beyond. Such a wonderful play that was displayed for more than 24 hours. First of all, let me take the privilege of congratulating the head of the department, Mrs. Vidya, for her enthusiasm and zeal. I have always seen her with a spirit of positivity, energy, lot of energy which will radiate around her and it will be passed on to people. I congratulate all the staff members of the department who are the pillars of Vidya's strength. Very important. We should have a group of people around us who is extending always a helping hand to strengthen the department. That is what is happening in the department. I congratulate every one of them in the department and the students. Just a small bunch of students, but the amount of love, the warmth, the affection, the rights which they are enjoying and which they are spreading it outside is beyond imagination. Each and every student of the department is very, very helpful. They are in all the times available. Not necessarily, they are not confined to the four walls of the department. I have always seen them with a wide smile all over the campus, asking people what they want and even how they are. Is something which I really enjoy, particularly after this Guinness World Record. I see them communicating with all the students, which is a nice thing to hear and see. Thank you all students. One incident, one student who gave the roadmap of the department, how beautifully she gave that, the whole year's work. In just 2 minutes, it was narrated very beautifully. That shows how well the students are molded by the HOD and all the staff members of the department. Let us all uphold the value of now and get it transformed into service and the spirit of kindness. Have a very good day and best wishes for all your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I request the chairperson of Ekraj College Trust, Tirumati Jagriti Tanika ma'am, to felicitate our chief guest, Justice K. Chandru sir.
Honorable Justice K. Chandru, former Judge of Madras High Court and the Chief Guest of the day, Dr. D.P. Usharani, Principal in Charge, Thiru Muralidharan, our former Chairperson, Dr. Usha Priyan, our Vice Principal, self-supporting, Dr. Nitya, HOD, and Dr. M.D. Pavitra, both from the Department of Human Rights and Duties Education. other members of the faculty of Jagriti College, students, other special invitees, members from media, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to be part of this Jagriti 2021-22. I don't know what exactly the meaning of Jagriti. You will have to explain me later. Yeah? Awakening. Okay, that's called awakening, and very actually an apt word, I would say, to commemorate the International Human Rights Day. As all of you are aware, the Universal Declaration of the Human Rights was proclaimed in the United States United Nations General Assembly on 10th of December 1948. It is considered the milestone document in the history of humankind, and also it has given so much of impetus and so much of motivation to the member countries, their governments, to adhere to all these human rights norms, create new legislations, new policies, and there is a considerable improvement in the whole human kind, I would say. And this is a fitting thing that we really celebrate this day. At the same time, it's not enough to have all the laws, legislations, and government policies, everything in book. It has to translate in action. That's where our real daily hero is here. A person who has devoted his entire adult life as a student, as a lawyer, as a judge, throughout whatever he was doing, he had always been aware of and always keen on addressing the any kind of violation of rights, especially among unempowered population. I am so happy that I know Justice Chandru for a long period of time. And we had, in fact, I got the introduction initially from another vibrant social activist who passed away very recently. And also myself, Justice Chandru, and one more lawyer, Geeta Ramasishan, we together had actually produced a book, co-authored a book on child and law in India. And he has also written a forward for another book of mine. And with all that, what are what we have to do. And as mentioned by Dr. Usha Priya, this college and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights both were born in the same year, 1948. And it is actually our missionary founders in Retd who founded this college in the year 1948 with the sole purpose of empowering women of India with higher education. And all of us is aware that it is only through education and the real empowerment comes. And apart from this college has also another distinction. When the same United Nations had declared in the year 1995 to observe a UN decade for human rights education, they have found that unless the real citizens of the country, their countries are educated about human rights, real cannot 100% translate into action. And their focus of the countries for 10 years they wanted to focus attention on education on human rights. And the Retd college during was the first college in India to start a full-fledged course on human rights in university. Anyway, coming back to human rights, when we are talking and upholding about the human rights, we have to really see the situation. Especially, women are found to be much more at a disadvantage. When men have to encounter whatever the discrimination on account of race, caste, color, communalism, whatever it is, whatever the discrimination they face. Women also face all this discrimination, but along with this, they also face yet another big discrimination, which is on account of gender. This gender discrimination was very prevalent in 1948 and it is prevalent even today. This we can see even in the history of the whatever the Universal Declaration document that was prepared. I just when we look into the history book of it, we see that even women in that period, 1948, had to be so vigilant to make this document gender neutral. And we must be happy. The first chairperson who was actually heading the committee that was actually drafting this Universal Declaration of Human Rights was Eleanor Roosevelt, a woman, then former First Lady of USA. At that time, her husband was not president, but she was a former First Lady of USA. And she was actually sent as the representative of USA, and she was actually appointed as the chairperson of the drafting committee. Apart from that, there is yet another only one more women were given a place, and we should all feel very proud. It was actually one Mrs. Hansa Mehta from India. And we should be proud that our Indian government has chosen to send a woman as a member of the drafting committee. And she has been widely credited for actually fighting and changing the very first line of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And it's really interesting. The Article 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was originally drafted as all men are born free and equal in dignity and rights. And it says, the history says that it is Hansa Mehta who fought and changed the wordings and so all men are equal, all human beings are born free and equal. Yet another distinguished person, one Madam Minerva Bernardo from Dominican Republic. She was in a subcommittee, and that is where she has been given the name that she is the one who insisted that this Universal Declaration document, she argued that it should be equal, also insist on equality between men and women. So this kind of religion even today is required whatever the government policies or whatever the laws are created, wherever it is, wherever it is implemented, we women, and especially people who are all specialized in human rights, should be actually very conscious and be vigilant to ensure that this gender equality is always maintained on paper, at least in the beginning. Only if it is on paper, then we can really enforce it in action. In India, we were lucky, I must say, because the expert is here. Our constitution was actually drafted around the same time when this universal declaration came. And more or less, our constitution has got all, it has actually included most of the human rights aspects, and especially voting right to women, voting right to everybody. Some of them, when you are looking into the history, there are in the Western countries, women have to fight for so many years to get the right to vote, to participate in voting. But anyway, it was 1948, things have changed, and we are actually having a constitution which is actually, and it keeps on improving through various court judgments and amendments that's coming. And so, as I mentioned earlier, every country is actually being motivated to ensure that their citizens are at least have the right to enforce whatever the human rights that has been declared, and where the countries have ratified there. And there's in India we have the Human Rights Act of 1993, and also then we have the National Human Rights Commission, State Human Rights Commission, and everything coming up. But at the same time, when we are talking about, as I said, this gender inequality was actually remaining as a stumbling block. This is not observed by me or you or anybody. It is the United Nations which itself has declared this gender inequality is remaining as a sort of a stumbling block for the women in the different countries and different societies to really access to the whatever the rights that they are entitled to. And so the UN called for a world conference on women in 1975, and subsequently a decade for women had come, and subsequently we have the Beijing Declaration and platform for action with so many different aspects mentioning how to uphold the rights of the women and also eliminate the disparity between gender. And nearly 162 countries have ratified it, including India, and they were mandated to send actually periodic report to UN. And all these things has really resulted in a lot of action in India also. So many different legislations that have come. Criminal Law Amendment Act of 2012, and then we have the sexual harassment for women in workplace, Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, commissions for women were established at national and state level. All those things happened from what I am telling is just sort of history. Initially, what was actually come as a human rights has now started evolving in different aspects to address the needs of the different category of human persons. And so, in the same way, in the year 1989, in the very same year, United Nations has declared that the world community raised that the human rights, which has been already declared in 1948, is very much adult-based, and it is not really addressing the special issues and special rights children are entitled to. So they have brought in a separate convention on the rights of child in 1989, and they have declared nearly 50 different kind of rights, which can be called as survival rights, protection rights, development rights, and so on. And that also mandated that the countries have to send periodic report. In India, they have been witnessing, I have been introduced as I have been the Vice President of Indian Council for Child Welfare, and we have been actually closely following all this, and there is a lot of legislation has come, POCSO Act has come, Child Marriage Prohibition Act has come, and so the Child Labor Act has been revised, and even whatever criminal liability for children, age of criminal liability for boys has been raised to 16, 18. So many things has happened, and there are 4 different reports have gone to the United Nations specifying what are the different
5-year-old or a 100-year-old, whatever it is, you deserve, to live with dignity is something which is found to be important and will play a major role. And in fact, education is the biggest asset for anyone, and more so in the context of the 1940s. It is very nice to know that our founder realized that educating women is going to be extremely important in providing equal rights. And that's something which is reverberating in this campus. So, yes, truly, this is something which is in the right place, I should say. And so, thanks to our founder for realizing that 30 years back. And he showed this vision for Retd College, which has always believed in inclusive and progressive outlook. That's always been there. And it's a matter of great pride that today we have, we have achieved this Guinness record. While this record, because it was for the longest play, that may get real. But I'm almost certain, I do not know the longest play carrying the message of human rights. I don't know whether it will ever be broken at all. Because I think 28 hours of different topics about how human rights should be achieved or should be, making everybody understand that was an amazing experience. We tried to see, we were all, as much as possible, we were through here, sitting in this auditorium. That, I think, was a major achievement beyond the longest play. And the content was all about human rights. That was fantastic. And now it's very apt that Justice Chandru sir is here. He is always an advocate who stood by human rights and continued to do so after his elevation as a judge as well. And in fact, you may be aware that he had also requested not to be addressed as my lord or your lordship. He was a great believer in every way. Equality starts from there, and I think it's fantastic. I think you walk the talk, and that is what makes a difference. And it's famously told, justice delayed is justice denied. And while we all make it as a statement, I do not know whether we realize it. 96,000 cases in probably less than a decade. I do not know. Like Bradman did not achieve the 100 runs average record. I think he missed out on the 1 lakh. But 96,000 in less than a decade, around 10,000 cases disposed of in every year or so. I do not know, the numbers are astounding. But those 96,000 people who got justice are people who do. Thank you so much, sir. I think that's the biggest impact. It's not the record, but the 96,000 people who got justice. And definitely I congratulate the chairperson, the management, vice principal, principal, everybody for conducting this event, which is absolutely very timely. Also fitting that the event is decided by a chairperson. So, Justice Chandru and Madam. So, fantastic day. I'm sure that this will not be just celebrated on this day, but human rights, equality, all that should be a way of life. And all of you people, there are about 500, 600 people sitting here, more and more people will come and go. All of you can make a huge difference in the society. Best wishes to all of you with all of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It's time to listen to our honorable chief guest, Justice K. Chandru sir, who serves as such an inspiration for human rights students like us. Now, we have special address by our chief guest.
Good morning to all of you. 10th December celebrated as the World Human Rights Day. Now we are on 13th, 3 days late. But one thing is important. Why have 1 day for human rights? Why not 365 days of human rights? We cannot have a token or a lip service for human rights. It has to be an all-round effort. All round the year, we should make efforts to have human rights. It should run into our blood. It cannot be a mere lip service. Therefore, I feel that we cannot have a 1 day human rights. Human rights should be in our system. It is in that sense, every day should be a human rights system, human rights day, and then it is appropriate that we observe anytime we think there should be a human rights violation. We should also have a meeting like this to speak, discuss, and take a decision on such violations. Because day in and day out, there have been violations of human rights. There have been complaints of human rights, and then we just, as a passive observer, we just see this and go away. And it is in that sense, every time when we talk about human rights, we try to emphasize how this topic of human rights is a very complex one. We can start from anywhere and end anywhere because it permeates in all walks of our life. In fact, this morning we had a Tamil Thai. Everybody automatically got up and stood in respect of the Tamil Thai. Even people who are not speaking Tamil, even who are not Tamilian, were also standing because they respect the sentiments of the state. That at the start of every function or an official function, we have Tamil Thai. Suppose you don't stand, the Vijayendra, who is the Kanchi Mat CM, he did not stand for a human Tamil Thai. Now there are people who are protesting. He may be a religious leader, but why he is not standing? Then someone said, he did not stand because it is a prayer song. But when there was a national anthem, he stood up. So national anthem, he stood up. Tamil Thai he did not stand. When people protested, they were arrested because they did not have permission to protest. You know, in this country, under the Article 19, you have a right of expression. And a protest is form of an expression. But then if you want to protest, you will have to take permission from the police or from over the authorities. Therefore, these people were arrested for protesting against a particular religious leader, a denominational leader, for not standing. Now they went to the court. The Madurai bench of Madras High Court last week delivered a judgment. Since all of you have access to internet and also have a computer or Android phone, you must watch all these things because nothing should go without notice. In every news, there is a message for us. In every publication, there is an element of human right. If you don't look at it, then there is no use in learning human right or celebrating human right. Now, when this case went to the Madras High Court, one judge who heard the case delivered a judgment, very peculiar judgment. He said, you need not stand up for Tamil Thai because it is like any other prayer song. But you should stand up for national anthem. Because it is a national anthem, the whole country has to stand. It's a question of a patriotic spirit. Not only patriotic spirit, there is an act called Insult to National Honor Act. If you don't stand, you can be punished. Many times in our country, people understand or implement only when there is a punishment. Only when there is a sanction that if you don't do this, you will be punished. You saw in the lockdown time, people should not move out. When they go out, then police arrest them, they seize the vehicle, So there is a certain amount of coercion. In every law, there is a certain amount of state coercion. If you do not obey, if you do not pay the tax, there will be penalty, there will be interest, sometimes there will be imprisonment also. Not only in revenue laws, traffic laws, everything there is a punishment. Does it mean that only when there is punishment we should obey? What about the constitutional right, a right of expression, right to carry on whatever duty you feel like doing? Now, if you take the question of national anthem, I leave aside this judgment. It is for you to read the judgment, understand what are the implications of this judgment. I may not agree with it. If all of you, some of them are not Tamil speaking, you also stand up. You respect the sentiment of the Tamil people. Therefore, there is nothing like I will only do this and I will not do that. If you want to go with the whole, the sentiments of others, then you can also have certain amount of accommodation. Please read the judgment and come to your own conclusion. But taking leave from there, you take the case of national anthem. Today I am going to speak on human right, not on Jagriti. Therefore, let me explain some of these issues, which are very complicated, which comes in every walks of our life. Every time we read these issues. When I was a school student, there was a Indo-China border dispute in 1962. Now there was an aggression on the northeast of India. When there is an aggression by a foreign forces, then people are made to think that they should patriotic feeling should have patriotic feeling. How you show? You show in a sense when there is a national anthem, you stand up, erect, salute the national flag. But then they found many of these people in this country do not even know what is national anthem. Therefore, what did they do? In all cinema theatres, at the end of the cinema, they started putting national anthem. First, they thought they put in the beginning. Normally, only at the end of the function we have national anthem. But in cinema theatres, they started putting as a first national anthem. So, what did the people do? One person will ask, as the film started, no, they are having some song going on. We'll go afterwards. So people avoided it. If you go inside, you have to stand up. If you don't go inside, you need not stand up. Then what the government did was, they passed an order which we put at the end of the cinema. So as soon as the credits things are coming, people used to go to the safety stand, go to the stand, car park, just leave. So you can see the whole crowd going away. The government went very awkward. If for inculcating patriotism, you want to show national anthem, and people don't obey, or they have their own things to do, catch their own bus, train, or take out the cycle, then they stop putting this national anthem. Better not to exhibit national anthem as a testing one's patriotism. Now this went on for quite some time. I'm talking about 1962. It was stopped after a few years. Later in Kerala, they started putting this in all schools. In our country, everything started only in the school. In fact, yesterday, the National Human Rights Commission member, Jyotika Kalra, she herself is a lawyer. She wrote an article in an online magazine called Print. She said Jagriti should be made as a school curriculum. She also gave her own version of why it should be a school curriculum. First of all, you must know one thing. Every film that is exhibited requires a censorship certificate. Don't think that you have a right to express whatever you want. You may express within the four corners of the wall. You can tell your friend. But if you want to exhibit a film in public, it has to go through the censor board. There will be a censor officer, advisory panel. They will say you must impose these cuts. Like which this Jagriti film went to a censor board, and they suggested 46 cuts for giving certificate. Without a censorship certificate, it can be a U certificate, which means universal. Anybody can see it. UA means under adult supervision. A boy can see only with the mother or the father. Then there is adults only. Only adults who are above 18 years can see it. So when this film went to the censor board gave a certificate saying adults only. Because some of the scenes in the lockup, they felt it should not be seen by the children because of so much sensibilities are affected. And the people who produce the film ask the censor board, why don't you, considering the value of the film, why don't you give some other certificate? They said 46 cuts. That means the entire lockup scenes will go, police beating will go, then there will be nothing in this film. So they refused to put any cut in the movie. Finally, it has been shown as an adult only. Now, why do you think that the children should not see it? Now you find one National Council member, Human Rights Commission member, says it should be made as a school curriculum. Does she not know it has got an adults only certificate? Yesterday I was in Europe. I went to a school. Every children has seen the film, notwithstanding the certificate. Normally, when we go to theatre, do the counter wala will see us. No, not allowed. You don't have a bush. You don't have the height. Get out. We can't see adults only film today. Thanks to OTT, everybody can see whatever they want. Now it is in that sense. This Kerala Education Department, when they issued a circular, they said in school assembly, you should have national anthem sung by the children, and every children must attend the assembly, and they should also sing the anthem. Nothing wrong. We all think it's all part of our life. But there is some people who have a religious persuasion. For them, nation doesn't mean anything. A river doesn't mean anything. State doesn't mean anything. Language doesn't mean anything. They believe in the ultimate God. Therefore, they said, why should we stand and sing this song? We will stand and show our respect. But we will not sing because we do not believe that singing the praise of a river or a language or a nation or a border, it doesn't appeal to our religious faith. And our constitution, thanks to Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's stewardship, this constitution provides for a right of religious faith of any choice. The choice is not of the government, choice is that of the people. Therefore, you cannot say there will be one nation and one religion. We belong to a mosaic country. People of all religious faith are there. So when this Biju Emmanuel and his two sisters attending the school assembly did not sing this song, they were suspended from the school. They went to the Kerala High Court, and finally the matter reached the Supreme Court. Very sensitive case, because we always believe that if the government says do something, you must do. We have been made to, like a puppets, sing, you can sing, keep quiet, you can keep quiet, run, you must run, or sit in one place, you must sit. Very interesting questions came in courts. I have a right to life under Article 21. The state must protect my right to life and livelihood. But do I have a right to kill myself? Do I have a right to have a suicide? If there is a positive right, why not I have a negative right also? The right to life includes right not to live. Very recently we saw, when this movement against corruption started, they are squatting in Ramlila Maidan in Delhi. They want to sleep during night time in the ground. Police want to remove them, saying you can't sleep in a public place. Matter went to Supreme Court. One of the argument was, I have a right to sleep. Not only right to be awake. Many times when there are boring lectures, you will go to sleep also. This happened often. It is in that sense, the argument that was advanced in Biju Emmanuel's case in Supreme Court was that if my religion provides certain faith, you cannot compel me to sing. I have full respect for your song. I am standing up with all reverence. but I will not sing because my religion do not believe it. Now the judges are a very, very difficult case because anybody would have thought, no, children should obey the parents. That's the first human right violation. They must obey the school authorities. They must obey their teachers. They must obey the school management. Everything they must obey. And then they continue to obey everything which are wrong in this world. It is in that sense, the Supreme Court said, Justice Jagriti was known for his very revolutionary views on religion and the fundamental rights of the Constitution. He delivered a judgment which saying that it is not a crime if a person do not sing. If a person disrespect your law may come into place. If a person insults, there is an insult to National Honor Act. Therefore, he can be arrested. And therefore, they gave a judgment. People were shocked because we have a very limited understanding of what is freedom. What is freedom of expression? There are some people who welcome, people with mature mind, people who are also imbibed in human rights, they welcome this judgment. But there are people who did not welcome it. Some of the members of parliament wanted to impeach a judge who gave the judgment. They started collecting signatures, saying this judge should not deliver the judgment. Which means, does it mean the choice of the individual? Judgments are delivered on the basis of the Constitution and the law. And it is one of the finest judgments. Biju Emmanuel versus State of Kerala. You must read the judgment. Today, access to information available in a touch of a button. It does not belong to lawyer and lawyer office. It is not only in law journal. You can just see the judgment. Biju Emmanuel was a State of Kerala. One of the finest judgments, quoting from all over the world, authorities for the judgment. But the judges were sought to be removed from their seat. Thanks to the intervention of the Prime Minister, this was stopped. Now, where do you go from this? National Anthem did not stop with the Biju Emmanuel case, it also continued. Some people said, in our country, patriotism is going down. What we do? We should make compulsory singing of National Anthem. And we should introduce, once again in cinema theatres, compulsory National Anthem. Not in the beginning, not in the end, but during interval time. Now started. One person went to Gujarat High Court. Gujarat High Court dismissed saying it is not the business of the court to make laws. You go to the government. After some time, the same person went to the Supreme Court. Make National Anthem in all cinema theatres. And one judge took a fancy for this. He thought he has to prove that his patriotism is supporting this. An experiment which was failed some 40 years ago, it was revived by a court order, not by parliament, not by the government, by a court order. Even today, the judge who gave judgment in Madurai case said there is no order of the government to stand up when there is a national Tamil Thai. That is the reason. That means you should compel people by law, compel people by an order of the government. Therefore, when this judgment came, very important thing, people were arrested in cinema theatres. They went for an entertainment, and for some reason they were trying to go, there may be some message from home, or some other reason they were not standing. They were all arrested in cinema theatres. It is not merely the government. Today in our country, we have a section of the group of people who became law enforcers. They became moral police. You should do this or you should not do this. You can love or you should not love. There are so many individual groups which are attempting to enforce these laws. That is the most dangerous thing. Instead of having law enforcement left to the state, we are having private armies to enforce. So these groups started attacking people. In one case, one individual was prosecuted in court. Unfortunately, he told the judge, I don't have legs to stand. How will I stand? I have to sit only or in a wheelchair. Again, the matter went to court. The judge got embarrassed. He said, physically handicapped people need not stand. Then who will decide who is physically handicapped, who is not physically handicapped? I am physically handicapped, I can't hear. If I can't hear, how will I stand up also? These are all very ticklish things. Though goes along with human right and law enforcement. People are subject to these tests in the courts. And finally, the same judge after finding there has been a lot of misuse, he withdrew the judgment. He said laws will have to be made by the parliament and not by the court. You should have understood this in law college, not after becoming Supreme Court judge. I am not criticizing, I am only saying we cannot, in our enthusiasm, attempt something new and then try to force people. It is in that sense I started with Biju Emmanuel, who are school children, who may not know the intricacies of all these things. Now, our Madam Chandra, the subject of children is dear to her. She has worked in her entire life for the welfare of the children. And sometimes I am associated with her. When it comes to children, what does the Constitution say? There are 4 articles in our Constitution talking about children. If you have an opportunity to read, see the Constitution. The first few articles you can see. One of the beautifully written Constitution where the children never went out of the lawmaking process. That is the greatness of our Constitution. No world in this country, no country in this world has a Constitution with a political philosophy, social philosophy, a humanitarian consideration written into the Constitution. And this Constitution says your children below 14 years cannot work. Now, if you see this, if you go for putting hair for your two-wheeler, you'll find one boy standing there. Go to a hotel, one boy will be cleaning the plate, cleaning the table, bringing water. Go anywhere you find child labor. Now the Constitution says there can't be child labor. But then in our life we see, this is the essence of human right. We have beautiful laws written all over, the enforcement is zero. She knows. In fact, we work in some other cases. You know, you go to Sivakasi, there are fireworks, there are match industries, there are firecracker industries. Children are made to work in those places. The Supreme Court, entertaining a public justification, especially about Sivakasi, appointed a Supreme Court committee of 3 senior lawyers. I was asked to help because I come from Tamil Nadu. The 3 senior lawyers were coming from Delhi and they are not familiar with Tamil. And there was a senior advocate by name R.K. Jain. We went to all the factories. The law relating to child labor says no children below the age of 14 years shall be employed in any factory where there are dangerous substances are there. You know, match has got a potassium nitrate, firecrackers have got deadly chemicals. And then the brief given to the committee was to find out whether actually children are working in this factory. Then this R.K. Jain, senior advocate, we entered a match factory. He asked one girl, mostly girls are employed. Because girls have to work, boys will go to school. That seems to be our gender justice in this country. But thanks to Barrister Retd, he is a missionary. He started a college for women, even in those days. But then we find out girls are working in this factory. And when they go to the factory, they'll be going with only the frock, the shirt, top shirt. When they go inside the factory, they put the dawani on, the half saree. So that if the inspector comes, they will say, what is your age? 15. So when this Jain asked every girl who's working there, what is your age? And I translated this. Amma, why Shavla Kekara? 15, 16. It went on like that. Nobody said ever below 14. So this senior advocate from Delhi got exasperated. He found everybody said there are children, they look like children only, but everybody says above 14. I told him, sir, before we come, they have been instructed to say this. When a law is passed by the parliament, many people think this is written in a very legal language, nobody will understand. But people who are affected by the law will be the first to understand. So the factory management told every girl, somebody will be coming from outside, please tell them, whenever they ask you, tell this as a age. The whole factory was saying from 15 to 17, never below 14. He asked me how to get this out. real. Where that distinction goes, I think we will be realizing little about our human rights. It's the most important thing. We have found child labor is not abolished in this country. Not single prosecution is ever succeeded. On the other hand, it is on the increase. The children don't come to school. Every children who is within the age group of 14 are not enrolled. Maybe in some places on paper they would have been enrolled. And this film, on the other hand, emphasizes literacy as one of the greatest missions. The mother comes to court, puts her left thumb impression in the court papers. Secondly, in the film end, you will find the Ali, the daughter. She sits in a chair comfortably in the lawyer's office, house come office. She reads the newspaper. The lawyer smiles at her. Maybe for the first time he ever smiles at the film. In fact, they want to depict me. Actually, I used to be a very moody person, they used to say. So in this film, for a contrast, the lawyer is shown as a little smiles. Now, when Ali reads a newspaper, what is the message? That literacy is the liberating factor for the people who are scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. Because the literacy brings you dignity. The literacy takes you out of animal existence. The Supreme Court in Mohini Jain case said that Article 21 guarantees liberty, includes dignity in life. We are not having animal existence. In order to avoid animal existence, there must be literacy. Literacy alone can make people have enjoyable Article 21. That is the judgment of the Supreme Court, because Article 21 has got only one sentence. Now the Supreme Court judgments have expanded the scope of the article. It has expanded to such an extent. People have right to access to public facilities, right access to public roads, right access to burial ground. Today we do not have a burial ground for everybody in this country. Burial grounds are segregated. I know he delivered a judgment in 2010, 2009 in Madurai that there cannot be a caste-based burial ground. Burial ground should be common. In 1920 Municipalities Act, every municipality is expected to maintain a cremation shed and a burial ground. But then you go, you find in Madurai, every caste has got a separate. So I wrote the judgment that when a government maintains a burial ground, government maintains a cremation shed, why there is a reservation? Why there should be a Brahmin burial? Why they don't bury cremation ground? Now one group wanted to add to this segregation, and that case came before me. I asked them, when we are born from different womb, we come from different places. But at least on the death, why not we go to the same place? What distinction it makes if you have a separate cremation? In order to emphasize this point, in 1954, there was a film in Tamil, Rabbayin Kaval, and there is a song, Samarasan Kana Ulagile, Andi Marasanam, Samarasama Ulau Vidame in the burial. That is, even a pauper and the prince will find equality only in cremation ground. This I wrote in my journal. And told the government, you should abolish all this segregation. And government did not abolish, that's a different issue. But the Hindu paper wrote, a High Court judge quoting cinema song. Maybe that's the first time. I said the cinema has become part of the folklore. Unlettered people understand the minute you quote a cinema song. There is nothing wrong in sending the message. This message must go. So I wrote this judgment. It went to appeal. Some people find appeal. They are not satisfied about this so-called equality. The bench also upheld my order and said it's a beautiful song that the single judge has quoted it. And the judgment remains as a judgment. But one film producer, by name, he is a film director, well-known film director, Amchan Kumar. He took a film, Manushangada. This is not the first film which comes after the case. There are several cases that are taken as film. That Manushangada is a film based upon my judgment. In that, they find difficulty to find a burial ground. And therefore, they go to many places. Finally, they go to the High Court and they show one judge giving them order. Finally, they could not bury in the same place because the local resistance. So when you talk about human right, it is not merely well written in paper and court orders, but it is also enforceable. How do people accept this? Do people accept it? Do you have such maturity to accept it? We can write one order that should be absolute equality. Is that equality will come by itself? In fact, Madam Chandra was quoting from the UN Declaration. All men are equal. The US Constitution contains an article. All men are equal. What about women? What about blacks? 200 years ago, they wrote the Constitution and they never thought about the women, they never thought about the blacks. But over the period, today the blacks, you cannot say they are being discriminated. Though there is a certain amount of racism. You cannot say women are discriminated in the United States. But the word remains the same. But the content got changed because of the society's development. That is most important. Law can be written. The content of the law should be made into a reality. But what did the British do? They are very clever. They passed an act called General Clauses Act. Wherever the word he, read it as she also. That means he will include she. In our Tamil folklore, you will find Umayoru Bhagan, that the woman become part of the other male, Arthanarishwara, equal. The equality is never recognized in our society. Society is still discriminating. That is why we have gender-sensitive classes, gender-sensitive orientation program, gender studies. Even today, whatever you find, we had a similar case. In fact, somebody was saying that I delivered a judgment where women can become priests. Very interesting case. So many interesting things come to court, but only thing is you will have no time to read all these things. But then it is judgment. Very, very important because it shows how much bankrupt we have gone. There was a father who was a village pujari. Whenever he goes to the temple, he takes the daughter. And then the daughter realized what to do this puja, everything. She was performing. One day the father died. And then she started doing the puja. She unfortunately had two cousins who were the men in the same village. They said, you are a woman, you cannot do puja. She said, I have been doing along with my father. Whenever my father is absent, I was doing. What is your problem? Then they created a problem in the village. It became a law and order problem. When it became a law and order problem, the revenue authorities are coming. One Tahsildar came from the Taluk, Usalapati Taluk. She was a woman. That's most important. Merely because you are a woman, you doesn't become conscious of all your rights. You are also a symbol of authority. She convened a village meeting and asked why you are opposing. No, madam. Only men can be pujaris, not women. Then she found the easy solution is to appease the male members who are more majority and not the women were not vocal. So she wrote a minutes by saying that the two boys will be performing the puja and this Pinnayakal, who is a lady, she must go to court and establish her right. This is a very wrong interpretation because when an executive magistrate comes to a village for enforcing law and order, she has to only maintain status quo and she has to ask the warring party to go to the court. She should have asked the cousins to go to the court and not this lady because she was already doing the puja. On the other hand, she rewrote. So in my judgment, I wrote that this lady, being a woman, she has not only understood the constitution, she failed to discharge her duty as an executive magistrate because she should have protected this woman. Then I examined this issue more deeply and found there is no law by which women can be prevented from being a priest. On the contrary, they were worshipping the women in a goddess form. If women can be worshipped in a goddess form, why the women can be prevented from doing puja? She does the same thing at home also. She just not women how to be religious. She performs every ritual at home. And why do some people say that they cannot? So I wrote in my order that there is no legal provision to stop women being a priest in a temple. And in the Vedic time, there are very many Vedic scholars for women in our country. And therefore nothing prevents it. When this country has to be run both by men and women, and they walk on two legs, and she holds the sky may fall. It's not the men's hand which holds it, it's also women who's also holding. Therefore, when they hold the sky along with the men, there is no law which prevents. Now the judgment is written. How to enforce the judgment? It has to go to the same village. Then I told the district collector, take a police force and go get the key to the clinic. A police force along with the district collector went to the village, got the key and gave it to her. It's a symbolic victory. It may be a victory only in that village. It doesn't become universal principle. Later we saw the Supreme Court in 2 years back in the Sabarimala. The women devotees can go. 5 judges of the Supreme Court wrote a judgment that women can visit Sabarimala. There is no legal prohibition. On the contrary, it will be a constitutional violation if you prevent women. But the women are not able to go. Last 3 years, there is a judgment of Supreme Court of 5 judges. Still, women are not able to go. On the contrary, a petition is filed to review the judgment. That review has been decided by 7 judges. Now 7 judges bench are not found. So notwithstanding court writing orders, notwithstanding, because under Indian Constitution, it is the court which can interpret the Constitution. It is the court which decides what the Constitution says. There is English saying, it is not what is written in the Constitution, it is what the judges say. Now judges have said 4:1, that there is no legal bar, but women cannot go. That is why I am saying, when you talk about human rights, it is not enough to have laws. It is not enough to have enforcement checking. On the other hand, something like educating the people to accept this is the rule of law. This is what we are all about. It is in that sense it becomes important as human rights education. Now you ask this NHRC lady who said school curriculum. Everybody says they are torturing the children. If you say environmental, teach them. Traffic violation, teach in the school. Human rights violation, teach in the school. Nothing will come. In fact, by choice, they leave out Article 21 in writing examination. We can't compel people. By compelling, you cannot make them to learn. On the other hand, who should this education should be taught? It is to the judges, it is to the police officers, it is to the government officials. That is why we have contact rules for government. Don't employ child labor. Don't take dowry. In fact, for IAS officers, there is another peculiar rule. There is a confidential role, how an officer is functioning. The entry number 6 says, what is his attitude towards SC/ST? His superior officer has to write, his attitude is healthy, he is not discriminating. Today, after 71 years, when Article 21 takes, Article 14 says everybody is equal, we do not have equal. We have 1/5 of these people in this country who are not equal. You will show in this film that the tribals of this country are not equal. Once Mahatma Gandhi said, India lives in villages. Baba Sahib Ambedkar asked him, which village you are talking about? There are 2 villages in every village. The village for the upper caste people, there is a village for the scheduled caste people, colony. Which is called colony. Now when this film director, Gnanavel, went for location, he was struggling to find the tribal settlement. So he went to the colony and asked them, where are these rural tribes are there? Then they showed, no, that place, a forsaken place, where there are no roads, there are only bunds are there. Where there are no electricity, they have no ration card, they have no Aadhaar card, they are not covered by voter list. Are they not Indian citizens? Are they not entitled to select their own people? They are not there. They are excluded society. Therefore, this Gnanavel gave an interview to a paper. He said, India lives in 3 villages. The main village, there is a colony, and there is a tribal colony. Now, when we are going to have 1/5 humanity outside, can we still talk about human rights? That is why I am saying, this Biju Lima comes to your house, you may even give her a coffee in your drawing room. But when Sengedi comes, you will not even allow her. This is the theoretical difference that we have. We do not treat them equal. Then what is the point in praising Jai Bhim? Jai Bhim is a slogan. Because this film is taken in all languages, they were looking for a common title. And it so happened, the victory of the film, Jai Bhim, the title is very important. Wherever I go, people say, Jai Bhim CHANDRU. Within a month, I am known as Jai Bhim CHANDRU. I am proud. This slogan can unite the affected people in this country into one platform. Bring their demand. What is this film aiming at? Two things it is aiming at. One, that there is a victimized family by the police torture. Raja was killed by the police. Why was he killed? He was suspected to be connected with the theft. Was he connected? No. Then why did he report to the police station? Now that is a very important story. That when the British came to this country, they want to have established law and order because the rule should continue. They are a very small number, but they were trying to cover a large area like the British India. You know, England is a very small colony, but India is some 100 times bigger than England. They want to rule this country. How will they rule? Create a police force. How will the police will rule? They will establish law. If there are any disturbance, they will establish law. They won't hesitate to use firearms. The firepower which gave this British the superiority. What about crime reduction? Crime reduction is not their concern. The British, despite their civilized country, invented a barbaric law in this country called Criminal Crimes Act. According to them, some crimes are criminal. They will continue to do criminal acts. How to solve this? Declare them as criminal crime. Once you declare them as criminal crime, what happens? How do the system work? Every male who is 16-year-old must register with the police station. Their finger will be taken in the police station. In Tamil, it is called Keral Sakam. Keral means the finger, thumb impression. Their height, weight, their body marks, everything is noted. Now, once the record is complete, if there is a crime in that locality, there will be a top down in the village. All males are required to surrender at the police station. Within 24 hours, if they do not surrender, the person who is absenting themselves, he is a criminal. The inspector becomes a judge, the police station becomes a court, punishment, whatever he thinks, will be the punishment. Like this, the criminal tribes, the tribes of this country were punished out of a most uncivilized law, out of a law which defies every kind of human right. They have been punished. The Congress Party and the Communist Party demanded repeal of this law, saying it's against human dignity. How do you say the whole community is criminals? The British refused because that is an invention they made. In England, they may be civilized. England, they may be talking about John Stuart Mill, essays on liberty, which will be made as a lesson for us. What is liberty? But in India, they were exploiting this country. They were killing the tribals. They were victimizing them on false ground. After the independence, as promised, the Congress Party withdrew this Criminal Rights Act. So what is the tribes are now known as denotified tribes, DNT. In Tamil, they are called Seer Marabinar. Once it is Seer Marabinar, denotified tribe, they should have a honorable living, but the policeman doesn't think anymore they are denotified. In their mind, they are continued to be the criminal. Therefore, in any place, if there is a crime, they look for Korava, they look for Irulas, they look for Vada. Every tribe they look for. If one person is caught, that is enough for them. So this film is attempting to show the debauchery of the criminal justice system in this country. And the first scene you will see, they are coming out of jail. And the police says, are you Vada? Come here. Are you Baliyar Chettiar? Go that side. They are segregated. For what purpose? Giving them reward to send them back in some unresolved crimes. That is why the story also, there was a theft in the village. In the theft stolen property, the police shared the booty. Now he has to find, because there is a pressure from the top, what happened to the case. They have to find and solve the problem. So this Raja, who belongs to Karava community, he was caught and taken to the police station. For what purpose? Give them some lunch. He was beaten to accept the guilt which he has not committed. And in the process he dies. And that is how the whole story starts. This is also to show how much indignity, apart from inclusive society, the entire state police force is used against them and continue to repress them. And there is a scene where Prakash Raj questions all this. He said, no, no, we should also give him some pressure, then only truth will come out. He was taken to a meeting of all the tribal people. By the time they were organized themselves. And then he was taken. One small boy tells, I don't want to go to school. If anybody loses their eraser, they will say, he the fellow who is taken. Why would I go to the school? How will any tribal will go to the school if they are going to be treated like a criminal? This is not something new or extinguished. Many people ask me, after this judgment, has these things have come down? It has not come down, it has gone up. And then if you say that they should not be treated as criminal, police mind it does not accept. Today you will find any case sheet. Raja Khan's name will be written, and before his name they put KR. KR means Kadawa. Who authorizes them to write the caste of the tribe in the case sheet? Today it continues in the criminal justice. We go give lectures in Hyderabad in the police academy. I go give lecture, orientation program, sensitization program. Very, very unexpectedly, top police officers are also welcoming this fellow. Because one top police officer is responsible for unearthing the crime. Therefore, they are happy. We have shown good light. Therefore, we are happy. What about this ordinary policeman? We give them lecture, but then he doesn't calculate down. For ordinary good murtis, this is how he has been. This is how we have been taught to untribal crime. What about torture? There are 120 methods of torture in this country. Written books are there. Rule books are there. How to torture a person without getting him a visual hurt. As a judge, I had a case where a woman came and told me that his brother is kept in jail and he has got 40 injuries. When I asked the Advocate General, he said, no, it's not. No, my lord, it's not nothing. We always give good treatment. How to prove? The government says something, the privately they say something. So I told one lawyer sitting there in the court. I told him, take a taxi, go to the jail, interview the prisoner and come back. Within 2 hours he came back. He said, sir, he has got visible injuries and his leg is also broken. And no treatment. I asked the Advocate General, what do you say now? Please give us 1 week time to file counter to reply to this. Every time they want to evade a situation, they'll ask for time. By the time the boy will die, that's what happened in Sakapur. Father and son attacked by the police, and the magistrate remanded them. There was no medical help. Today, the law requires when a person is produced for remand, the magistrate must ask him, do you have any ailment? Do you have discomfort? I will send you to hospital. He should send him. On the other hand, he sent him to the jail and they died. A criminal case is going on in Madurai. So when this boy, when the Advocate General asked for time, I said no. I will see myself whether he is injured or not. Next day we asked him to produce. When the door was open, he could not walk. He could not get into the stage. Then he showed his shirt. There are several visible injuries. He could not walk. When I asked the public prosecutor, what is all this? Is there any civilization in this country? He said, sir, he is a pleaded criminal. There are 23 cases against him. 4 murder cases. I said, does it mean police are empowered to kill him? The police can take law and disorder. This is the most important thing. Why I am saying is what? In my concluding remark, I want to say, in this country, people who are killed by encounter, the police officers are praised. Even Surya, in a film called Kaka Kaka, you will see when he is taking the pistol and shooting the fellow. Nobody condemns this. We are a country governed by rule of law. How is that the inspector can kill him? But then the Surya gives a lot of explanation, saying that if I go to produce you in court, produce evidence, feed you, kept in jail, the government costs so many lakhs of rupees. Now this 6 rupees, when you take the bullet, by the time the theatre, nobody can hear anything. So much applause. People know what's going to happen. And then he shoots. And the applause continues. When people think a person can be killed in public, you saw in Hyderabad, there was a death, unfortunate death. But the inspector was garlanded, sweets were distributed. In Nirbhaya case, people said, hang this killer. I told them they had to hang only after a trial. No, sir, your judges will take your own time. This is the best solution. So we think we applaud. When there is no rule of law, we applaud. Police stations become courts, inspectors become judges. That is the most dangerous thing. In human rights, the first lesson to be rule of law. No person's liberty can be curtailed except by the procedure established by law. That is Article 2. We can't be impatient. We can have instant increase, we can have instant copies, but we cannot have instant death. I told them there is no law by which a juvenile can be punished. She knows how many juveniles she is defended. If a boy is below 16 years, now 18 years has now become 16 years, he can't be hanged, he cannot be tried in others. But then the people who are protesting said, Anthem. They asked me, somebody asked me very seriously, sir, is there not a law by which this boy can be hanged? I think there is no law. They changed the law. And government changed the law. Because it is a vote bank politics that we are having. They want a law, we bring a law tomorrow. It is not, that is why Justice Krishna, whom I have kept as a mentor, he said it is not by the law who people are killed. It is by the unlaw. It is like the police station in Kamapuram where people are killed. Not by any court. It is the unlaw we have opposed. The human rights are meant to educate people that law must provide and not, otherwise this country will become a jungle. And that is what this film is saying. The second message which I want to tell you, when a woman comes with a thumb impression, her daughter reads, as I told you, education is a liberating factor for the scheduled class, for anybody for that matter. Dr. Ambedkar said, learn, educate and agitate. That slogan has come out from this film. The woman starts reading. I think once a day will come when these people will get up and say, I am no longer excluded people. I am part of these inclusive people. Bharat, that is India, that is Bharat. I belong to this country. There is a weight in this law. There is a